This weekend's binge list: Little Monsters, Baby Boom, Hart's War, Mortal Kombat Legacy, EPC, Elvis Presley In Concert, Flight of the Navigator, The Accidental Tourist, Running Scared, and G.I. Joe the Movie. Which one will you watch first? Little Monsters subverts the zombie genre by grafting a rom-com structure onto a horror framework, using the undead as a metaphor for societal collapse and the loss of childhood innocence. Director Abe Forsyth employs a hybrid aesthetic, blending handheld docu-realism with bright Wes Anderson-esque color palettes. This visual dissonance mirrors the film's thematic tension between the mundane and the monstrous. Key to this is the character of Dave, an arrogant, immature musician whose arc from self-absorbed jerk to protective brother-teacher figure parallels the breakdown and restoration of order. His sunglasses, worn indoors, outdoors, and during the apocalypse, become a symbol of emotional armor, a visual crutch that cracks only when he fully embraces responsibility. Caroline shines as a kindergarten teacher who maintains her sunny disposition even while beheading zombies. Forsyth frames her in warm, saturated colors, isolating her as a beacon of light, while the zombies are shot in cold, desaturated tones. The tour bus sequence, a single continuous take of chaotic violence intercut with childish wonder, exemplifies the film's genius. It juxtaposes ultraviolence with childhood innocence, making the horror both hilarious and unsettling. Ultimately, Little Monsters uses zombie horror to explore how grief, trauma, and immaturity transform people into monsters. But by placing its faith and love in art, such as Taylor Swift's Shake It Off, as a life-affirming anthem, it argues that even in the apocalypse, humanity's capacity for connection and joy can survive. Hart's War, directed by Gregory Hoblit, is a war drama that transcends its genre trappings to deliver a nuanced examination of justice, honor, and racial prejudice within the confines of a German POT camp. The film's cinematography subtly reinforces its thematic concerns. The pervasive gray palette, from the snow-covered landscape to the drab prison barracks, visually emblematizes the moral ambiguity and monotony of captivity. Lighting is used to contrast spaces of authority and vulnerability, harsh overhead bulbs in the interrogation rooms versus the soft, dim light in the barracks where the prisoners huddle, emphasizing their shared humanity. The mise-en-scène constructs a microcosm of American society, with segregation and power plays mirroring the outside world. The film's centerpiece is the murder trial, a classic courtroom drama grafted onto the war narrative. The camera often frames characters through bars and windows, reminding us of their entrapment both physically and within systems of prejudice. Low-angle shots of Colonel McNamara, played by Bruce Willis, elevate his moral authority, while tight close-ups on the black pilot, Lieutenant Scott, capture his isolation and the weight of racial injustice. Editing maintains a deliberate pace, allowing tensions to simmer. The climax avoids bombast, focusing instead on the quiet, dignified choices of its characters. The final shot, a high angle of the departing train, suggests that even in a world of brutal constraints, and individual acts of integrity can transcend the horrors of war. Hart's War thus uses the visual language of a war film to explore eternal questions of conscience and sacrifice, earning its place as a thoughtful entry in the canon. Mortal Kombat Legacy transcends its video game origins to craft a dark, visceral meditation on violence, destiny, and the thin line between humanity and monstrosity. Director Kevin Tancharoen employs a gritty, desaturated palette that mirrors the moral ambiguity of its characters. Every frame drips with tension. Slow-motion combat sequences become ballets of bone and sinew, where each blow lands with crushing weight. The film's fight choreography is impeccable, blending practical martial arts with subtle CGI to create a hyper-real aesthetic that feels both grounded and mythic. Yet beneath the surface of shattered spines and bloodied fists lies a profound exploration of legacy. Scorpion and Sub-Zero's rivalry is not mere vengeance but a cyclical tragedy. Two souls bound by shared pain and cultural duty. The script whispers the absurdity of their conflict. Can you not see? We are the same. This philosophical layer elevates the carnage, transforming it into a commentary on how violence perpetuates itself across generations. The sound design is equally masterful, each impact syncopated with a heartbeat, each grunt a death rattle. The music swells with orchestral gravitas during emotional revelations, then strips to haunting silence in moments of introspection. Johnny Cage's arc mirrors the film's own tension between commerciality and artistry. He yearns for fame yet discovers that true legacy is forged in pain. The final shot, a lone warrior silhouetted against a blood-red horizon, captures the eternal cycle. We are both creator and created, forever trapped in our inheritances. The 2019 hologram concert, EPC Elvis Presley In Concert, represents a peculiar intersection of technological nostalgia and postmodern spectacle. The show stages lifelike 3D projections of the King across 5 eras, from Nittany 50s rockabilly to 1970s jumpsuit icon. While the visual effects are stunning, rendering sweat drops, hip gyrations, and even the blue Hawaii lei in photorealistic detail, the experience oscillates between reverent and uncanny. Cinematically, the production employs layered perspectives. Wide shots capture the enormity of the virtual Elvis against thousands of live fans, while close-ups simulate intimate eye contact. Yet the performance lacks visceral tension. Holograms cannot sweat, they cannot feed off audience energy. The show becomes a ghost in the machine tableau, echoing Walter Benjamin's critique of mechanical reproduction. The aura of live performance evaporates into digital perfection. Perhaps most telling is the apathetic response to the encore. Choreographed audience cheering feels obligatory, not ecstatic. EPT Elvis critiques our obsession with resurrecting the dead through technology, and its ultimate meaning emerges in the void between the flickering image and the living room reality. It's not about Elvis, but about our own mediated gaze, longing for a transcendent presence that remains stubbornly absent. In this liminal space, the King becomes a curated memory, not a performer. Word count 228. Flight of the Navigator is a cinematic anomaly, a children's sci-fi adventure that stealthily deconstructs the mythos of the American dream through the lens of a lost boy and his alien spacecraft. Directed by Randall Kleiser, the film opens with 12-year-old David Freeman falling into a ravine in 1978, only to awaken in 1986, having aged not a day. This temporal dislocation is the film's central metaphor, the transition from childhood innocence to adult disillusionment, staged through a Reagan-era America transformed by consumerism and technology. The spacecraft, nicknamed Max, is a sentient, shape-shifting vessel piloted by a lonely, childlike consciousness reflecting David's own isolation. Visually, Kleiser employs a clean, minimalist aesthetic. The spacecraft's interior glows with sterile white surfaces and geometric lines evoking a corporate boardroom more than a spaceship. This design choice subtly critiques the era's technological hubris. The film's pacing mirrors David's emotional state, static and dreamlike in the opening half, then frantic and pulse-pounding during the alien journey. The use of practical effects, including the famous database scene, where Max scans David's brain with a laser field, emphasizes tactile reality over digital abstraction, grounding the sci-fi in human feeling. Thematically, the film posits that true navigation requires not just speed, but emotional orientation. As David and Max hurtle across galaxies, they learn that home isn't a fixed coordinate but a state of belonging. The ending, David returning to his family decades later, as a child, is both triumphant and tragic, leaving viewers to ponder the cost of progress. Flight of the Navigator remains a quiet masterpiece, using a children's adventure to map the uncharted territories of loss and growth. In The Accidental Tourist, director Lawrence Kasdan crafts a poignant meditation on grief, and the human desire for emotional insulation. The film follows Macon Leary, a travel writer who authors guidebooks for business travelers seeking to minimize friction, a metaphor for his own life after the tragic death of his son. Kasdan visually communicates Macon's detachment through meticulous mise-en-scène. His home is a fortress of order, with geometric compositions that echo his rigid emotional state. The muted color palette top, beige, gray, reflects his refusal to engage with vibrancy. When mechanic Muriel disrupts this world, the camera work shifts. Early scenes with Muriel use dynamic handheld movements and warmer lighting, contrasting with the static, clinical framing of Macon's home. Kasdan employs long takes during their conversations, forcing us to sit in the discomfort of Macon's emotional thaw. The motif of travel, airports, hotel rooms, becomes a visual metaphor for avoidance. Macon's guidebooks advocate for staying unconnected, yet the film's most striking image is Muriel walking her dog through a rainstorm, symbolizing the messy, uncontrollable reality life demands. Kasdan's deep cinematic analysis reveals that true accidental travel isn't about ease, it's the unforeseen journey toward vulnerability. The final shot, a close-up of Macon's hesitant smile, leaves us suspended. He has revised his guide, but the destination remains uncertain. Paul Walker's performance in Wayne Kramer's 2006 neo-noir thriller Running Scared is a visceral high-wire act of panic and paternal desperation, anchored by a scuzzy, hyper-stylized aesthetic that amplifies its moral rot. Walker plays Joey Gazelle, a low-level mobster tasked with disposing of a gun used in a cop's murder. When the evidence falls into the hands of his young neighbor Oleg, Joey plunges into a nightmarish 24-hour odyssey through the criminal underbelly of a grim, snow-dusted New Jersey suburb. Kramer's direction is a frenetic collage of fisheye lenses, Dutch angles, and lurid color palettes that mirror Joey's spiraling sanity. Every frame feels like an anxious heartbeat caught in the pan zoom of surveillance. The film's technical bravura belies a surprisingly tender core. Joey's quest is less about covering his tracks than salvaging a shard of innocence for his surrogate son. Yet the narrative lurches into grotesque detours, a child abuse subplot in a suburban cult, a predatory ice skating rink that tests the bounds of exploitation. Critics have debated whether these scenes serve as systemic critiques or sensationalist excess. Nonetheless, Running Scared operates as a crackling guilty pleasure. Its soundscape and breakneck pacing forge a singular mood of dread. The film wears its B-movie lineage proudly, but Walker's sweaty, increasingly haunted eyes suggest a deeper tragedy, the futile pursuit of redemption in a world without grace. As you sit here, ponder this. Every atom in your body was forged in the heart of an exploding star. You are literally the universe experiencing itself. Now take a 30-second deep breath and set your phone timer for 7 minutes. Tomorrow, when it goes off, commit to one bold action you've been avoiding. The cosmos is waiting for your move.